Hello students. So in the last class what we learned about was the eukaryotic cell. We started with the first component of the eukaryotic cell, that is the cell envelope, and we learned about that the cell envelope involves cell wall, or otherwise it involves the glycocalyx, which is present in the animal cell. Cell wall is present in the plant cell, bacterial cell, or otherwise the fungi, and certain of the protists. The common thing among all living organisms is that the one component of cell wall, and that is the plasma lemma, which was before called as the cell membrane. We learned in the last class regarding the cell wall, its certain of its properties, and we learned about the two methods of the growth of the cell wall. Primary cell wall grows by addition to the existing layer, and the secondary cell wall grows with the help of the new layers being added to the pre-existing layers. So let's continue from this because we stopped here. If we consider this as is plant cell, and if you consider that this layer is the cell plasma membrane, then the outermost layer is the middle lamella. I was talking about this even in the last class also. Middle lamella is the layer which joins the two adjacent plant cells together. It is made up of calcium pectate and magnesium pectate. So in between this plasma membrane and the middle lamella, the first layer to develop is the primary cell wall, which is just underneath the middle lamella. And when the cell has grown to its full size and no more growth is going to take place, the secondary cell wall is laid, and it is always laid inner to the primary cell wall. I told you in the last class regarding the various other components which are possible in a cell wall. It could be silica, cutin, suberin, wax, or lignin. Middle lamella is the part of the cell wall which develops in between the two cells, and it is going to be the first layer to develop after a cell division. After every plant cell division and cytokinesis, the mother cell is going to divide into two daughter cells of equal sizes. So when the cell divides into two, or when cytokinesis takes place, the first component to develop in the wall is the middle lamella. After the laying down of the middle lamella, the two daughter cells are going to develop their own respective primary cell walls, and later when the full growth has taken place, the cells are going to lay secondary cell walls inner to the primary cell wall, if secondary cell wall is supposed to be present, because primary cell wall is found in all the plant cells, but secondary cell wall is found only in special cells. The next thing is plasmodesmata. Now what is plasmodesmata? See, cells cannot be completely partitioned from each other, so they need to remain in some contact. Though cell wall is there separating the cells from each other, they have to have a connection from one cytoplasm to the next cytoplasm. So that connection is drawn with the help of a component called as plasmodesmata. It is 20 to 40 nanometer thick, and it is also called as protoplasmic bridges. Plasmodesmata contains the plasma membrane. So it is completely surrounded by the plasma membrane of two sides of the cells, because two cells are involved in attachment, and through the plasmodesmata or this bridge there will be a desmotubule. Desmotubule is a component of the endoplasmic reticulum of one cell, will joins with the endoplasmic reticulum of the second cell with the help of a tube which is called as the desmotubule. So desmotubule forms the connection between two endoplasmic reticulums of two adjacent cells. This is how cells are communicating with each other with the help of plasmodesmata. Plant cells are always connected with plasmodesmata. The next thing is the differences between the two cell walls. So primary cell wall and secondary cell walls are different from each other in these points. Primary cell wall is found in all the plant cells, but secondary cell wall develop in special cells. Special in the sense like vessels will develop secondary cell wall, but not parenchyma will not develop a secondary cell wall. The first one to be formed is the primary cell wall, and the secondary cell wall is laid later. The next point is that it is laid outer to the plasma lemma, that means it is inner to the middle lamella, and this one is laid inner to the primary cell wall. The thickness of the primary cell wall is 0.1 to 3 micrometer. If you remember, in the beginning of this class, in the last class, I told you the dimensions of the cell wall is 0.1 to 10 micrometer. So the reason is this, that the primary cell wall thickness is 0.1 to 3 micrometer, and the thickness of the secondary cell wall is 3 to 10 micrometers. So this one is thicker in size. The reason is there are 1, 2 or 3 layers possible to be laid one after another from outside to inside. The secondary cell wall first, secondary cell wall second, secondary cell wall third. This one develops while a cell is still growing. Secondary cell wall develops only after the cell has attained its complete mature size and shape. That means no more growth will take place. So primary cell wall, because a cell is growing, so the primary cell wall is extensible. It is possible to expand as the cell is growing. The possibility of extension is not possible in secondary cell wall. The only possibility is of the increase in the thickness, and that also by the process I explained in the last class. Layering, more layers are added by accretion. This is how thickness of the secondary cell wall increases. Pits are absent. Pits I will be discussing on the next sheet. Pits are absent in the case of primary cell wall. They are present in the case of secondary cell wall. Lignin is absent in the primary cell wall. It is present in the secondary cell wall. Cellulosic microfibrils. I told you in the last class that cellulose are present in the form of small fibers, microscopic fibers. That's why it is called as microfibrils. So microfibrils are wavy and they are loosely arranged. In the case of primary cell wall, the cellulose microfibrils are straight and they are compactly arranged and they are properly sequentially